Thank you for joining me. My name is Isaiah Thompson. Today, I'm going to talk about an issue that has plagued our culture for decades with no real solutions in sight. That issue is that there are many moral concerns in regards to the production and consumption of animal and plant products. This issue is a complex problem, a multifaceted, deeply interconnected problem that is not easily solved. There may be no real final solution to this problem, but I propose that there are coping mechanisms that we as believers can take on as our responsibility as stewards of God's once good earth. So what's going on? What is the problem really? Both animal and plant production methods have led to devastating side effects in their surrounding environments. Animal production has led to the destruction of ecosystems for the sake of expanding land for livestock. Animals have been poorly treated, raised and housed in unethical and cruel conditions until their slaughter for their byproducts. Animal production, especially in dairy-producing animals, is responsible for a majority of the methane in our atmosphere, which is extremely harmful for our air. Plant production has led to destruction of ecosystems for land as well. Land clearing, alongside the use of environment-poisoning pesticides, has threatened not just ecosystems, but the animals who call those places home. Endangered species have been severely threatened by plant production. One such animal is the monarch butterfly, an endangered species in North America. A recent article reveals that across their range, monarchs are threatened by pesticides, climate change, ongoing suburban sprawl, and fragmented and poisoned habitats as they navigate their way across the continent. These threats are not minor and should not be taken lightly. So what's the big deal? Why should we care? Believer, to remain neutral is to ignore our responsibility as stewards. We must offer some response to this blaring issue in our society. Morality and ethics are at stake. We cannot remain silent or neutral. We must take action and respond. So what has been said about this issue? Well, an article from the Global Environmental Change states that undernutrition, obesity, climate change, and freshwater depletion share food and agricultural systems as an underlying driver. This reveals that there is ultimately something wrong with the way that we have been going about our plant and animal production, and human health is a part of the circle of concern with this complex problem. The fact of the matter is that humans need a balanced diet. Diets with too much of one food source and not enough of the other have proven detrimental and have caused severe health concerns. A balance must be met. Back to the animal side of the issue, PETA has boldly spoken, saying animals are not ours to experiment on, eat, wear, use for entertainment, or abuse in any other way. However, this is not a biblical view, and we will get to what the Bible has to say in just a moment. Rather, though, that diets with too much of one food source and not enough of another have caused health concerns. So, thinking about PETA's proposal here, it's not necessarily viable. So what has been done about this issue? What sort of action has been taken to remedy or respond to the issue of animal and plant production and consumption? Well, the American Journal of Public Health shows that some have made provision for community-supported agriculture, or CSA, to encourage sustainable, healthy diets that are locally sourced for minimal environmental impact. The global environmental change shows that some have looked to other countries to find what factors contribute to meeting the dietary needs of each culture. Sometimes cultural factors must come into play when considering what dietary options are best for a community or for an individual. Some individuals have sought to create healthy, balanced diets for both individuals and their environments, based on what their own personal research has shown them. This is a case of individual action, an inspirational example of people taking action in their own responsibility as stewards. PETA shows that some have created artwork to make an impact on people for the sake of action. I've chosen an example of such artwork for my next slide. So let's take a look at that. This image was created in collaboration with PETA by activists seeking to put an end to the mass destruction of rainforests by deforestation for the sake of rearing cattle. This deforestation kills wildlife at alarming rates and destroys ecosystems. The vivid colors and somewhat morbid imagery here helps to deliver the message of desperation about this issue. Although the solution they present, go vegan, is not one that I would personally endorse, they are taking initiative, revealing a very real issue, and are doing something about it based on their personal convictions. We should be doing the same. Alright, so we've taken a look at what people have done and what they have said about this issue, but now let's take a look at what the Bible has to say. First of all, in Genesis, humanity is told to have dominion over the earth. This means to rule over it as stewards, taming it and taking care of it for our good and for God's glory. We are expected to have authority over it, which gives us a responsibility towards it and towards God. Second, the Bible gives provision for the consumption of both plants and animals. A couple of examples to consider from the Old Testament are the gift of quails to the Israelites in the wilderness, and the laws regarding which animals were clean and unclean for consumption. Jesus had some things to say about eating meat as well, and in Mark 7:18-19, Jesus declared all foods clean to eat, abolishing the Old Testament laws regarding which animals we could and could not eat. Paul has a lot to say on this issue, stating in Romans 14:2-3 that we should make a choice. And what choice someone makes is based on their faith. While some may choose to abstain from eating meat, that is their own choice, and they should not be criticized for that choice. Paul speaks up again on the issue in 1 Corinthians 8:8, saying, "But food does not bring us near to God. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do." Again, Paul highlights here that one's diet is a personal choice. One can eat whatever they choose to, but no particular choice is going to earn them favor with God. Paul makes another note about foods and the choices regarding them in 1 Timothy 4. Paul says that food is a gift from God that should be embraced and received with thanksgiving, not complaining or rejection. Again, it's a matter of faith, a personal choice. But one choice is no better than the other, and each choice must be made with thankfulness towards God. So what can be done? Well, I do not believe that any large-term, big-picture solutions are achievable or reasonable at this stage of the issue. Perhaps in the future there will be some implementation of a moral solution where plants, animals, and humans can live in harmony, utilizing each other for their resources as God had intended in relationship with Him. However, for this time, expecting believers to cough up such a solution is really not the best solution we can take. Instead, the question is, how should we cope with this complex problem without becoming neutral parties? So here's my proposed solution. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, "Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God." Believer, are you making a conscious effort to glorify God in your food choices? Are you pursuing what is just, what is moral, what is good in the things that you purchase or consume? An article from Studies in Christian Ethics states, if we are to make use of animals for food, we should ensure such use respects their relationships to us as fellow creatures of God. I am not going to tell you how you should execute this plan of action. That is for you to decide. But what I am asking you to do is look into the Word, consider the liberties that you have as a Christian, and make good and moral choices with what you are choosing to put in your body. Your diet is your choice, but you must make a choice. Do not remain neutral. You cannot. It is your responsibility to be a good steward of God's gift of this life. So, believer, how will you respond? What action will you take? What choices can you make to be a better steward of God's earth and His creatures? That concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for joining me today.